Welcome to the most forward-thinking, inspirational podcast in this reality. The show designed to challenge everything we've been taught. If you've ever felt there had to be more to life, more to existence, then you're listening to the right podcast. Time to open your mind and dive in. This is the Mental Mastery Alliance podcast.
And here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Mental Mastery Alliance podcast. Today, I want to talk, I trailed out on the last episode talking about fear. And how it affects us, and it really does. We live in this amazing interconnected exchange of energies. Primarily with fear, love. There was a scene in Donnie Darko where it's like, you either live in fear or you live in love. And the classmates are like, no, there's a ton of other emotions. And I remember thinking that was so absurd when I first saw it. But it's true. How we function really comes from fear or love. And coming from love, you get, like Christmas, for example. As a kid, it was so great to receive. As an adult, it's so great to give. I love seeing the smiles on people's faces when you can give them something that is thoughtful, that, you know, it shows that you've created for them. The funny thing about that is it's like a selfish thing to be generous. It's such a convoluted debacle. I was also saying last episode how it's hard for me to get my thoughts out of mon tête these days, just because I feel like I'm thinking so many moves in advance. I'm not saying that I'm superior to anybody, but so many moves in advance. And let me reiterate on that. I was over the Christmas holidays, for whatever reason, I was doing a lot of driving, mainly because that's what you have to do to see everybody you want to see. And often when I drive, I have either Spotify on or I have like podcasts or ebooks. But for whatever reason, I had the Sirius on, the XM, and you hear the DJs and the disc jockeys talking. And honestly, I can't even tell you the last time I listened to like actual regular radio. But I guess the disc jockeys on XM try to be like edgier. I'm real cool. I'm an edgy disc jockey. I get it. I guess it's personality sells and we want to hear these things. I think that I'm a little bit different in that sense, where I'm listening to these people talk about shit and it goes into my head where they're just pushing their fear narrative. They're pushing more negativity. Now, I don't know if they're told to do this or if this is just the characteristics that they have that landed them the job. But you hear them tell stories, and I guess this is just chewing up dead air and making it personal. I don't 100% understand it. But I thought to myself, I'm like, why would I want to know this about you? And I thought to myself, why would I want to be a disc jockey and tell these stories about me? Like, it just seems so absurd that I would talk about myself. Now, people could say to me, sir, you have a podcast that's got well over 320 episodes. Don't you think you talk about yourself a lot? And the truth is, no, I don't talk about myself at all, really. I talk about ideas. I talk about certain things, and I don't want anyone to believe my ideas. I don't want anyone to say unequivocally that this is accurate, this is true, this is the way things are, this is how it is. I want people to be able to decipher for themselves and think for themselves. And the shows that I put out there are hopefully just additional pieces to thought processes. I don't know where the arrogance comes from that we must discuss ourselves or that we're important enough to share. And I'm not trying to sound rude when I say this, because it's great to hear stories about people, but I was listening to, I guess, enough of the radio to be like, fuck, this is consistent. These people are bitching. They're complaining. They're whining. These VJs, they're just whining about shit. And it's like, this is, again, back to the last episode talking about fear. This is just another piece of the pie. This is the puzzle. Pushing this shit out there, whether they're doing it intentionally or they're told to do it. It's designed to have you resonate with and relate to and be privy to and be afraid of all of this shit. Now, it'd be simple to say, well, why are you afraid of somebody talking shit? Well, I'm not afraid of it, but it feeds into the fear narrative. It feeds into the lack and scarcity narrative. It feeds into I can relate to this person who's blah, blah, blah. But then again, they say this is the shit that sells. Nobody's buying bubblegum and happiness. I beg to differ. I'm an entire generation of people who know what the Care Bear stare is. And that's the thing that solves the problems. Anyway, I digress. To me, I think that we need to be more positive in general. I think that, you'll hear people say, well, what's to be positive about in this world? Well, I think that that's it. I think that everything that we see is designed to be negative. And if it's designed to be negative, we live negatively. We live in negatively. But last week, I also touched on money. And I really wanted to dive into money too, because money coincides with the fear narrative. More people today are in debt than they ever have been before. We're living in a condition and a time that's worse than the Great Depression, right? And it's called right now the Silent Depression, because nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about how broke they are. And I want to talk about this, and I want to talk about money for a second, because we're all broke. We're all fucking broke. And in North America, too, they're doing these things. Shout out to the Germans, by the way. I see your numbers are spiking. So somebody in Germany is sharing our podcast, and they're sharing it, and more people are liking it. Our German numbers are growing, and I like that. Germany, you are awesome. That's not to take away from the rest of the world. You're awesome, too, buddy. Just keep on listening. If everyone's afraid of money and not having money and not talking about money, and everyone's still trying to be flashy with their money and show all this stuff off, like Balenciaga, for Christ's sakes, right? Who cares anymore about this bullshit, about this image, about this crap, right? Balenciaga's tied to Satanism all over the place. Oh, we are on the YouTube, so if I say these things, it's all just jokes. I don't understand anything. I don't know what I'm talking about. Purely entertainment purposes only. I'll also press this button right here.
Disclaimer. If you're going to soundbite any of this podcast, you must soundbite it in its entirety for consistency and context.
Balenciaga. Anyone that's gone down that rabbit hole is perturbed by what they've found for sure. But why do we have to keep up with the Joneses? I understand value. I understand buying a decent car because you don't want it to break down. But I don't understand buying a fucking dickhead Cybertruck. It's pointless, completely pointless, other than braggadociously. To me, the Cybertruck is like, it's the equivalent of telling people you wear a face mask in the grocery store. That's what the Cybertruck is to me. I'll also say this. I know a lot of friends who love their face masks and who love their Teslas. And they love the idea that they're helping the environment. But these people are dead asleep. No harm, no foul. They're dead asleep. They've got the biggest hearts and they're great people and they don't understand why bad things keep happening to them. Wonderful souls. It's unfortunate. But yeah, there's not a single person who's got any comprehension of anything that's driving a fucking Tesla. And that's not to say, anything is better than blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm not trying to be over here being like a derogatory to one thing. I do laugh, however, at the people that hate Bill Gates for trying to microchip people, but love Tesla for trying to microchip people. Peculiar. But that also goes inside with what the other thing that we were talking about. All of the fear from last week, Bill Gates, Tesla, all these guys, they're all connected. They're all intertwined with this stuff. Right? Why the hell would we give a shit what Microsoft, Bill Gates has to say about fucking human population control? Why on earth would we care? Well, we're supposed to. We're forced into it. Right? And then you think to yourself, okay, well, what if I get myself in a situation where I'm in trouble with this or I'm supposed to go face to face with that? And it's like every single thing we've ever been taught about society is no matter what, you're guilty until proven innocent. Do as you're told, stay in line, fall in line, all this sort of stuff. Again, fear-based narratives. I'm trying to move on from that. Got to get away from that whole thing right now. But I mean, that's a huge topic. It's something that's going to be discussed ad nauseum this year, simply because I want people to become aware of it. I can't shake you out of it because it's a personal journey. All I can do is shake myself more awake by talking about it on here. So it's a personal one for me as well. This one's close to the heart, as it were. But money is this thing that rules us. You know, we go to work, we earn, we do this, we do that. We see all these people with all this money and we think, I wish I had that. But then we see all these things where, like in Canada, if you earn a certain amount of money, you go into a higher tax bracket. If you go into a higher tax bracket, you have to give away the majority of your money. Next thing you know, you're forking over 50% of your earnings. On top, immediately you're forking over 50% of your earnings. And then in every other transaction that you do, you pay more money. Right? More money. Everything that you buy, more money. And when you die, you get taxed on whatever's left. Right? It's a scam. It's an absolute scam. Money isn't what we think it is. Money isn't designed to help us buy things and to get things done. Money is designed to distract you from your true purpose as a human being. Money is an illusion. And that means if it is an illusion, then it should be easier to earn than anything else. And it truly is. Find out what you're good at and then market it, sell it, rock it, kill it. What I'm saying is, if you think about CERB, for example, in Canada, prior to 2020, there was this whole thing about there not being enough money for the Native Canadians up here. And it was all the rage. This is what everybody was talking about. And then COVID rolls around. And this is the slap in the face, because COVID rolls around and then all of a sudden everybody gets CERB. It's $2,000 a month or something like that. Every Canadian gets CERB as long as you can prove that the year before COVID you worked. A lot of the natives couldn't prove that because they weren't on the government binding papers that prove they work. So we've got this huge money thing, and the natives all wanted some money, and then they were told they couldn't have it. And then CERB is like, okay, well now everybody can have it except the natives. And it was a really, really backhanded move. And I look at this and I think to myself, this is the audacity of money. You know, we're sending billions to the Ukraine. Meanwhile, we've got hot water boiling advisories all over the place in a lot of our lower income places. It's the same with the United States, right? And the thing about money and think about billions of dollars going to the Ukraine for what? For war? Okay, so that dollar amount, your tax dollars, go to the Ukraine. And what? It just disappears into a void? No, they got to buy tanks and stuff like that, right? They got to buy ballistic weapons and missiles. They got to buy war stuff, war boots, war shoes, war underwear, war toothpicks, war. Right? So that money, the money gets sent to the Ukraine. And then theoretically, if people are buying this shit, well, then the money that got sent to buy the tanks goes to the tank owners. And the tank owners take the money that they just sold their tanks for and they buy new tank parts, tracks, baseball bats, bolts, nuts and bolts. Jeez, hard for me to say. They buy all the bits and pieces and they buy lunch for their team. So the delicatessen gets a little bit of that, right? So now the deli guy, he gets to keep a roof over his head. So theoretically, that money gets to the Ukraine and it should get dispersed everywhere. And then maybe they make some millionaires in the Ukraine. And then those people take their dollars and they go to the States and they travel and they spend their money on vacations. And they tip their waiter. And that waiter then has enough money to go buy a pair of Nikes. And he's got a brand new pair of shoes. And the guy at Foot Locker gets his paycheck. And he goes and buys an ice cream with his paycheck. And the guy at the ice cream counter gets his paycheck. Money should just flow and disperse like that. But it doesn't. All of your hard-earned tax dollars get shipped away into oblivion. Nobody questions why the fuck we're still paying taxes the way we are. Nobody questions how to back away from this. Nobody does anything. We're all just slaves to the finance. The cost of living in Canada is through the fucking roof. Your average house 10, 15 years ago that was $200,000, beautiful. You can get yourself a nice house for $250,000. That house now is over $1 million. Right? So what comes next? Well, simple. They're going to jack us up inch by inch, piece by piece, or all in one shot to a 99-year mortgage. 99-year mortgage makes your mortgage payments anywhere from $700 to $1,500 a month, which is feasible for everybody. But there's interest on that. Interest is the scam. More money's made, right? But you can't produce more money because money itself is a fake commodity. It is a fake commodity. It's a fakeness that's used to steal real commodities, real things, real resources. And it's all run by a certain group of people. The stock market's a scam. Everything's a scam. It's all bullshit. All of these people don't need money. Money's not real. Right? Money is for the peons. Money's for you and me to dick around with, to be peasants with, to believe that it's what we're here to acquire. Right? We were taught at a very young age, make enough money that you can have generational wealth. Get rich enough to support your family for generations after you're dead. Fuck that. It's so stupid. You want to have experiences. Be broke as much as you can be. Get as much done as you can get done. Find out a way to make it work for you. Money, much like air, means absolutely nothing until you don't have any. So the goal here isn't necessarily to be afraid of money. It's to understand and comprehend it. It's also not to have a fucking job that's paying you $15, $20 an hour when cost of living has gone through the roof, right? But argumentatively, our parents made $2.40 an hour and they were fine. The house they bought cost $7,800. Not $1 million. Right? It's all a scam. And unfortunately, you can't say anything about it. You start talking about these things and you get kiboshed. There's a reason why you you vibrate on a lower frequency. You've been, I don't want to say tricked into it, but we're the boiling lobster right now. You take a lobster and you throw it in the boiling water, you're going to hear that fucker scream. But if you take a lobster and you put it in cold water and you slowly bring that water to a boil, the lobster doesn't even know it's in trouble. And that's how you cook a tasty lobster. Lobster's another funny one too. Lobster was peasant food forever until they marketed it as luxury elite food. You're eating crabs. Lobster is bottom feeder. It's like eating a cockroach. A lobster is the cockroach of the sea. But we've been tricked into believing that it's a delicacy. Read the origins of lobster. It's fucking gross. Anyway. I digress. We've been tricked into so much stuff. And it's easier to trick somebody than to ever convince them they've been tricked. So here we sit. We don't really have any idea as to what it is that we're doing or what we're supposed to be doing. We just know what we feel about certain things. Why do you think so many people right now are riddled with anxiety and depression? It's primarily because everything that we know to be true intrinsically has been bastardized and is working against us right now. So when you're not able to be aligned with yourself correctly, that's where the problem comes from. That's where the true anxiety and depression come from. We could fix that, and we are fixing it. One story, one stage, one step at a time. This podcast is trying its damnedest to get people to see things, see the things that they need to see. And I'm not saying any of this from my perspective saying that I'm right. What I am saying is I've observed. and let my observations be shared on this frequency. I am putting it out there. He does the hand across the sky, as in the more you know. I want people to ask questions. I want people to understand. I want people to comprehend. I want people to be able to say to themselves, I did something when asked. Money is not what we think it is. Money, if you need to earn it, there's a million ways to earn it. And you become a better version of yourself by figuring out how to earn it. So I'm not even mad that it's so difficult right now. Because those who are willing to step into purpose are going to be rewarded. I'm not saying that somebody's going to save you. I'm saying that you save you. Money's tight. Come up with an idea. You don't know how to come up with an idea? Think about an idea. And then once you've thought of an idea, figure out how to sell it. And that's it, right? Because again, it's got nothing to do with money. It's got everything to do with you stepping into your purpose and your power. And the cool thing is, as far as money goes, the more money we lose, the more we stress over money, the harder we're pushed into becoming a better version of ourselves. Because most people won't move until they're completely and utterly uncomfortable. And that's another problem too. When you are comfortable, not a lot gets done. So there's a fine line that we got to keep people on that even keel layer of comfort, layer of comfortability. So they don't go too ham and change the world. No, we don't want that. Anyone that gets close gets a handful. Here's a boatload of cash. Just go and chill out. You know, I think for me, if I won the lottery, or if I had a boatload of cash, I would double down on what I'm doing now. So there's probably a good likelihood that this ethos doesn't want me to have the money. So I'll start a GoFundMe, and y'all can give me $1. What's the dollar for? The GoFundMe. To change the world, $1 at a time. I like the idea of raising money for awareness. I like the idea of raising money. I like the idea of doing something just to say you've done it. GoFundMe makes me laugh, though, because I don't know if you guys remember the truckers up in Canada. People had their bank accounts seized by the government for donating $5, $10 to the trucker fund. All they did was show their hand, right? Again, now, do we live in fear? Be like, oh, look, again, back to the fear. I'm now aware that everything is bagged and tagged. Of course, all of it's bagged and tagged. That's why I lost all fucking care in crypto. I got lost in the Terra Luna debacle, but when you really see it, you're just like, it's just another scam. And there's a possibility and potential to make some cash, sure. But I've seen people try to pull out. And now it's a major issue. Now, I'm not knocking the crypto community. I quite like the fact that it's a challenge, but I've said since day one, with regards to money, it just demonstrates how fake money was in the first place. That we can just agree that this is now the new system, and there's no true intrinsic value to any of it, because there was no value to money in the first place either. Well, in the first place, actually, money was based off gold, the gold surplus. Now it's just an agreement. Now we've got people fighting over everything over just a simple agreement. Imagine how much your life would change if I could go oobla boobla boobla, and some numbers on the screen changed when you open your bank account app. Nothing in the world has changed except for these numbers on the screen. And this is what we're basing our entire self-worth on. Not who we are, not what we can do, not what we can accomplish, not what we can overcome, not the kind of person that we deem to be, not the kind of experiences that we want to have. Primarily, we base ourselves on how much money we have. And it's weird, and it's fucked up. And people live in fear, big time fear over money. Imagine throwing your life away and not achieving what you want because of fucking money. God damn it. Anyway, that's a negative way to end the episode, so I won't do it on that. I'll say this instead. You can have anything. You can create anything. We come from total and utter abundance. And with it, we've created limitations and scarcity. It's time for us to change that narrative. And we're going to. It's going to be a big year. It's a banner year. Ladies and gentlemen, in the infamous words of Red Green, keep your stick on the ice.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of the Mental Mastery Alliance podcast. Stay connected with us directly through the mentalmasteryalliance.com. You can also join the discussion on Instagram at instagram.com/the Mental Mastery Alliance. Let the team know you're listening by using the hashtag TMMA or tagging us at the Mental Mastery Alliance. To have your voice heard on the show, leave a voicemail or send a text to 647-338-1265. Long distance charges may apply. If you love us, leave us a review. If you hate us, you spend your time in weird ways, but also leave a review. Every review on iTunes tickles the algorithm, helping us grow. Until next time, unity over division. This concludes the most surreal portion of your day.
You got it, Pontiac.